Um, yeah, I think that's one of the best films ever made, guys and gals. Truly, I think that is it's really hard to beat that movie. Let me fix some things real quick, so I don't get yelled at when people are like, "No chat, it's muted. Where are the alerts?" Um, Okay, so you just watched what I think is one of the most important movies of all time, and there are certain movies that I really think we lead up to in this kind of film night, film class, and I think this is one of them. And obviously, I've said this before. Kubrick is my favorite director. I think Kubrick made the best film in like 4 different genres, which, when you think about that, is just insane. I know a lot of great directors who make very similar films. And for him to make the best comedy, the best war film, the best period piece, and the best sci-fi movie, and maybe the best horror movie ever in a career is so fucking, it's fucked up, dude. The man had too much talent. Horror, yeah, The Shining. Unbelievable. Unbelievable film. And ultimately, he had a very unique method. He had a very strange way of making films that some people view as a little problematic now. But obviously, like doing things like not telling Slim Pickens that they were making a horror movie, or deceiving the one general into giving his most ludicrous takes. He was very Machiavellian about his filmmaking. The ends for him justified the means, and man, it is really, really amazing when you sit down and watch a film like this. Anyway,
cool.
I love.
I watched the play Dr. Strangelove starring Steve Coogan at National Theatre in London recently, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
This movie is pure art, pure cinema. I watched it first time as a teenager and it had a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
Thank you for hosting this class, Will.
Oh, no worries. All right, so the first thing I will talk about is this film's impact. And oddly enough, this movie was originally supposed to end with a pie fight. There's actually kind of Chekhov's dessert table. I don't know if you noticed this, but in the war room, there is a giant table of desserts. There is a giant table of desserts. And sometime right after, he goes, "General, I have a plan." They were supposed to notice the Russian ambassador taking photos with his second hidden camera, and they were supposed to begin attacking each other with desserts. Unfortunately, Kubrick didn't think that ending had enough impact, which I am so grateful for. And so he ended it with the stock footage of nuclear weapons being set off. And it was filmed, wasn't it? It was. And it is a much more somber ending, an ending that kind of makes you think that everybody was lost in a nuclear holocaust. But there's so much amazing commentary going on here about the effete nature of politics, the absolutely base nature of so many men in charge. There are so many sexual innuendos in this movie, and it is done so very purposefully. All of these powerful men and their bravado, they think with their dicks, truly. And when you see that final monologue about the 10 women selected for their reproductive natures, it's so obvious that like these men want to be important. I mean, not to mention the kind of very overt commentary that Nazis made their way into the American government. and we would eventually become Nazis. And I don't think Kubrick could ever have known how right he was about that when we still to this day have fucking Nazi protests in this country where dudes are walking around with swastika flags. And we have the leader of one of the biggest social media platforms in the world throwing up a classic Sig Heil at a rally for the president. Just a lot to take in there. If a movie like this disturbs you, it did its job. I think ultimately the best quality of comedy and film alike is the catharsis that it can create and kind of how it can make very unpalatable truths palatable. And the unpalatable truth here is that you are at the mercy of a lot of freaks in the government and in the military. And unless discerning, smart people stand up and say enough, you will continue to be at their mercy. And that could be your fate one day. I don't think the real threat of any war or conflict is profound enough in the mind of a lot of Americans. I think we view war as something that happens on another part of the planet, and it feels distant, and it feels strange, and it feels obscure, and it doesn't feel real. And it's amazing to me that a comedy can remind us that these things aren't as far from us as we think in a nuclear age. So, yeah, I mean, this is why you become active, you become informed, and you become, involved, or you just take your fucking hands off the wheel and you let it happen. But either way, I hope this motivates you to do one or the other. So it's interesting. You don't see many films like this. The recent example that I can think of is Don't Look Up, which I really enjoyed and kind of had a very similar message, but different. But obviously Dr. Strangelove inspired so many pieces of art, film, music, image. Dr. Strangelove is everywhere. Whose first time was it seeing Dr. Strangelove tonight? Ones in chat. That's a lot of ones. That's a lot of ones. And then can I get a rating out of 10 on what you thought of it for all the first timers? I'd love to see what people thought of that film. 10 out of 10, 20, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Yeah, it's amazing. This movie's from 1964, and I always grade on a curve for films that are that old, and I always expect for there to be some level of fall off of in enjoyment from the audience. Because older films, they're just sucking your dick, bro, because you like it. That wasn't a Sig Heil. You're joking, right? Bro, thinks Elon did a salute. Yikes. Do you know where you are? You just walked into a Seder dinner and pulled out a Nazi flag, man. You're in the wrong place. No one here agrees with you. Anyway, ignoring that very lost person, this isn't really about me. I don't really need my ego stroked on tonight, but I do think that this movie is remarkably important. And whether this movie scared you or made you feel disenfranchised, like that chatter, I think it's important that you realize that a film that is 70 years old can still strike a nerve in such a significant way. Because it shows you that these things that we are fighting are not new and they are not unique. It's the same kind of tyranny that we've been fighting for not just 70 years, but for so many years, right? These tyrannical kind of overarching systems of control have been manifesting themselves in such a similar way for so long, and people are controlled in such a standardized way that it's almost humorous in the very nature that things that were relevant in the 1960s are still relevant now. Putting fluoride in the water, semen retention, like things that literally influencers on your TikTok are talking to young men about to get them to try and buy tea and supplements are in a film from the 1960s.
My dad made me watch this when I was 12.
Sure.
I hated it. At 37 years old, I loved it. Thanks for showing it. 2. Telling chatters shut the fuck up, you're in a film class, is the most college professor thing you could do.
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to say it's a good class. I don't think it's a good class. I'm not going to say what I'm doing is transformative. I do my best. But I do respect what we're showing here. And I want in any way to support and uplift and heighten the impact of the stuff we watch here, because I might not be perfect, but a lot of the films we watch here are. And I think in the same way that I'm very cognizant of my own failings and my inability to voice or put any kind of order to the chaos in the universe, some great artists have put a lot of effort into trying and doing that very thing. And I do think that if people consume the right film and the right drugs and talk to the right people and shake enough hands and realize that they are not an island unto themselves,
wow, that's for a cool
the world could be a better place. And so I hope I accomplished just a little bit of that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you laughed. If I yelled at you, I'm sorry. That's not the purpose of what I do on Wednesdays. Someone asked who the woman in the underpants was. That was the general's secretary. And again, that is meant to be one of those very base innuendos in this film that actually Kubrick was shocked. Apparently, when American audiences first watched Strangelove, a lot of them, the innuendos like went over their heads, and they didn't understand that so much of the film is like one giant innuendo for like, look at how fucking deranged and horny the people in charge of atomic bombs are, or, you know, and obviously that probably comes from our puritanical nature, but just about everything in this movie is a innuendo, down to the very opening sequence, which is two planes fucking, right? And what better demonstration of a man compensating for his own penis envy, as it were, but having a giant plane that can use an air dick to fuel up another plane, right? Or the assertion of the one General Guano, that the reason he was sent to kill a bunch of people on a military base were the perversions of his British counterpart. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Obviously, this film is dated in some of its film technique. They use a small model plane against a projected background for all the flight scenes. And there's actually very few sets in this movie. I think there's only like 5 sets in the entire film, which is incredible. It's actually one of Kubrick's smaller scale projects. So I'm not going to talk to you too much about like the craft here, even though it's still a beautiful film. I think there are some really, really cool and dramatic angles used. Kubrick is really kind of famous for some of those great like cinematic angles, like the General Ripper when he's on the couch and it's like that up angle of his face with all the shadow and the sweat. Just beautifully done. If you ever want to study how to shoot someone's face during a dramatic sequence, a Kubrick film isn't a bad place to start. But anyway, I'd love to open it up to any questions you guys have. I didn't have as much time as I would have liked to prep for this movie. This is one of my favorite films. I only was able to prep for like 20, 30 minutes before stream because I had a rehearsal all day and I have an all day stream tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. But I'll do my best to answer any questions. Fluids. Yeah, so that gets back to the fluoride conspiracy and the semen retention, which again is so crazy that was a prevailing conspiracy theory in the 1960s that Kubrick thought was hilarious and wanted to address, but is still a prevailing conspiracy theory in 2025. That to me is just baffling. I can't believe that time is such a fucking flat circle. Very important question. Can we fight in the war room? No, you cannot fight in the war room. And what a fucking funny line that is. Relevant Neff clip. All right, let's take a look. Gone by. Has anybody been receiving my signal? I'll climb up a ladder. I'll throw open the hatch. And there you'll be, my fans. And we'll repopulate the earth. That's right, baby. The biggest orgy you've ever seen. Just fucking. We're all just indiscriminately fucking. Yeah, I think that rant might have been that rant might have been inspired by Dr. Strangelove. Just a bit. Seeing this makes Hideo Kojima make more sense. Your thoughts on the connections? Hideo Kojima has admitted that he is a massive fan of movies, maybe even more so than myself. And to say that there is one cinematic connection in the Hideo Kojima universe, I think does him a disservice. I think Hideo Kojima draws from hundreds of films and he wears it on his sleeve, right? Like Snake is quite literally Snake Plissket. From Escape New York, which when you realize that he really is just a big movie nerd, and I think that's why some of his narrative storytelling is so great. But yeah, he borrows from all over. Are there any movies similar to this one that you would recommend? Don't Look Up is the one that I would immediately recommend, a little bit newer, but there are a lot of good war satires. I think this is maybe the best. What do you think of the people's criticism that Kubrick's films lack any emotion? I think this film disproves that. Is that a real criticism? I don't even know that that's a real criticism. I've never heard that. If it is, I think that's just haterade, honestly. I think in the same way that LeBron, people just get mad about hearing about how good LeBron is all day. I think some film fans just get tired of hearing how great Kubrick is. Kubrick is the best of all time. Hate it all you want. Make whatever argument you want. Kubrick is the GOAT. He's the best director of all time. And his talent is so absurd that I do think some people get upset with how good he was. Some people compare him to Nolan with his supposed lack of emotional depth. I mean, I totally disagree. The Shining at its core is about a closeted homosexual who has a schizo break and tries to kill his family. Like, there's so much emotion and great character if you know where to look for it. That's not Kubrick? No, that is Kubrick. The Shining was made by Stanley Kubrick. I didn't know about the homosexuality thing. So Kubrick has this filmmaking style where a lot of like his favorite little juicy details, he will not make obvious. He'll tuck them in nowhere. And so one of my favorite details of all time is that when Jack is standing up to talk to the caretaker before being hired, he's reading Playgirl magazine, which is a very, very, very very deliberate choice. Can we watch Eyes Wide Shut next? Eyes Wide Shut is such an interesting. Why is it deliberate? Because Playgirl is a magazine filled with naked men. Eyes Wide Shut, Ass Wide Shut. It's interesting. I think it is such a brilliant movie. Eyes Wide Shut is a movie that doesn't really get its due for two reasons. I think it deeply scared a lot of people in Hollywood. I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist, but also I think Kubrick wanted the film to be a punishment for the people that watched it. If you look at how the trailers were edited for Eyes Wide Shut, it plays as like a romantic like fling film between Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. I mean, it's even scored with "They did a bad thing. They did a bad thing, and it feels like crying." And I think a lot of people went into it being like, "Ooh, this is going to be a sexy thriller." What they got was one of the most horrific looks at human sexuality ever conceived by a director ever. And it was meant to shock them. I think Eyes Wide Shut is a film that is supposed to make people feel ashamed of their own sexual inclination and look at how base and how horrible and how costly sex can be for the people having it. So obviously it was received with somewhat mixed reaction. But I think it's a very important film. I don't know if we'll ever be able to watch it on stream because there's so much nudity in it. And I think it would just be hard to watch on Twitch, guys. There's also a weird pedo scene in it. Dude, there's an AIDS scene. There's a pedo scene. There's a fucking cult rape scene. There's a murder scene. Like, Eyes Wide Shut goes there, man. That shit is... That movie is traumatic. It's one of the most traumatic movies I've ever seen. Is it true the government wanted Kubrick to fake the moon landing, but he insisted on doing it on location? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, there's another conspiracy theory that the original moon landing was filmed by Stanley Kubrick, and that Kubrick was so eager to let people know that he had filmed the moon landing that he left a bunch of hints within the movie The Shining and some of his other films to try and alert people to the fact that he had filmed the moon landing. I don't think Kubrick filmed the moon landing, but it would be a really great story if he did. Can you figure out a way to critique movies we can't watch together? I could, but I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. Film night is already like a massive undertaking. I know you guys don't know that. But film night is already kind of a massive undertaking as is. And I'm already so time poor. So the idea of me putting a lot of work into critiquing a film that you can't watch, I just don't think it would have the same impact. I love you guys, but this is kind of like the Northern Lion Claire Obscure argument, where I know there are so many people in chat that are like gung-ho about things. They're like, oh, of course we'll watch your reviews of a film we've never seen before. We can't wait. And the truth of the matter is, like, it's not going to hit the same way. So with Peace and Love, I don't think that will be a comprehensive piece of my content. But if you ever want to ask about films, you can come in on a Wednesday and you can ask about them, kind of like Eyes Wide Shut. And I did give 2 or 3 minutes about Eyes Wide Shut. I'll do my best to answer any questions about other films that I can, as long as they're posed like actual questions, as long as it's not just Eyes Wide Shut ? Lighthouse ? I'll do my best to answer a question. Who's your number 2 behind Kubrick? I'd probably think Tarantino is comparable. My number 2 director behind Kubrick. People are not going to like this at all. My number 2 behind Kubrick is probably Steven Spielberg. I know that's such like a film like normie answer, but dude, Steven Spielberg has made so many fucking bangers, bro. Like absolute gasoline. And here's the thing. My favorite director living right now is Panos Cosmatos. I love Panos Cosmatos. If you ask me like my favorite current director, it's Panos Cosmatos or it's Gaspar Noé, right? But they just don't have like the
Thanks,
catalog
Professor Neff.
that those other two men have. Edgar Wright is another one that's in the conversation for sure. I think Barry Lyndon is his most impressive is the most impressive Kubrick film. Barry Lyndon, the ability to film using natural light is amazing. I mean, also just the scale of Barry Lyndon and how immersive it is in its time period is absurd. You should stream Brazil. That'd be an amazing movie to show. I love Brazil. Brazil is another movie that I like Dr. Strangelove is for me way more traumatic than for most people. I think Brazil scared me more than almost any horror movie I've ever watched. It's so raw. It's so brutal. In its kind of just like depiction of humanity. What is the plot of Brazil? Oh man, what is the plot of Brazil? I'm actually going to look up a synopsis because it's so absurd. It's like the grimmest look of the future. And as I remember it, it's like a guy's name gets smudged in a document. And so the government is going to kill him and he's saved by a renegade plumber. I think that is the plot. Low-level bureaucrat Sam Lowry escapes the monotony of his day-to-day life through a recurring daydream of himself as a virtuoso hero saving a damsel, investigating a case that led to his wrongful arrest and death sentence, right? That's his name smudged on the document. An innocent man instead of a wanted terrorist who is a renegade plumber, played by Robert De Niro. He meets the woman of his daydream, and in trying to help her, he gets caught in a web of mistaken identities and mindless bureaucracy. So yeah, that was the plot. It seems crazy to say, but yes, it's a man whose name is smudged on a document, and he's mistaken for a renegade plumber and sentenced to death. Yeah.
At Will Neff, I've tried watching Clockwork Orange multiple times but end up shutting it off because it is such a hard watch. Is it actually a good movie if I stick it out?
Yeah. I mean, Clockwork Orange is meant to be horrific. It's tough. There are films that are intentionally hard watches. And Clockwork Orange, you know, is just an absolute I mean, I don't listen, but I would say this. Clockwork Orange is like a 10 out of 10 on like the, oh brother, this movie's rough. It's a nightmare. And so listen, dude, here's what I would say. Not every film is for every person, right? I can acknowledge that Killing of a Sacred Deer is great, but it's just not a movie I'd ever enjoy. And that's okay. There are so many movies. There are thousands and thousands of good movies. And ultimately, you're not going to like all of them. So if Clockwork Orange is a movie that is a bridge too far for you, you don't have to watch it. Don't feel like you have to make yourself totally uncomfortable to watch one Criterion film. It's not important in that way. A little bit of the old in out. We put Drencrum or Synthemesk. I want to say thank you for your film nights. I recently watched Rebel Without a Cause and was recently surprised at how timely it still is. Yeah, Rebel Without a Cause goes crazy. Did I miss the movie? Unfortunately, you did. Would you ever do a DC animated movie? Yeah, I'd do a DC animated movie. If it's ever available for us to watch. You guys got to remember, I have such a narrow scope of films that I can watch without getting in trouble, and I have to adhere to that. For top directors, I always go for Stanley Kubrick and John Carpenter. Kubrick for obvious reasons, but I love John Carpenter. Was so unsurrendering and demanding. The same lens kits, the same texture fonts, and makes his own soundtracks to make his mid-budget masterpiece. Yeah, hard to agree with you on that one. So many on YouTube right now. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I love film night, man. I literally started watching 1 to 2 movies a day because of film night. Okay. All right, Racket. Sheesh. What's the toughest movie you've ever watched? For me, it was Martyrs. Toughest movie I've ever watched. Come and See is really, really, really fucking hard. Luminaires, I think, is the other one. What is it called? Lumineers? You know what I'm talking about. Antichrist, yeah, Fun and Games. I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what's a really hard movie for me? Possession. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Possession, but Possession is tough. Possession is tough, bro. Yeah. Have you seen Weapons yet? I have. I really liked it. Do you think there is anyone doing the same kind of disrupt almost all authority, perhaps humanist type beat in film right now with popular directors? It is too risky to make that stuff now. Dude, I hate to be this fucking fanboy. They're not as general market, right? I think there are some really great directors making a lot of really great counter films. What was the one that just came out? God, was it called The Audition? What was the movie that just came out where the couple is trying to have a child in the future? The Assessment. Yeah. This movie is very much like that. This movie was fantastic. This movie was fucking fantastic. There are directors doing this, and I'll be a fanboy for a second. I'm going to be honest. Superman kind of did its thing for what it was. If you told me that a superhero film would be so anti-war, so pro-immigrant, so... Listen, am I saying that it is the most intense commentary I've ever seen? Fuck no. Hell no. Hell, not even in the top 100. But if you told me that a Superman movie was going to have that level of social commentary like 2 years before it came out, I would have told you were fucking crazy. So, yeah. That's me being a fanboy, though. You can ignore that. Any other modern examples of movies that achieve the same comedic, absurdist tone? And yeah, I mean, the one that I keep saying, obviously, is Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up is like, it is definitely a love letter to Dr. Strangelove. How would you rank Strangelove in the Kubrick filmography? Okay, this is really tough because I think a lot of filmographies are easier to rank because they are similar film types, right? You can rank Jurassic Park against Raiders of the Lost Ark because they kind of have a similar tone, right? Oh, they're action, but it's really well done, and it's provocative, but it's for the whole family. Kubrick, it is really hard to rank his films, and I'm going to tell you why. It is really hard to rank Kubrick's films because he made the best film in every genre. How do you rank the best film in a genre? How do you rank the best film in a genre? How do you rank the best horror movie against the best sci-fi movie? How do I rank The Shining against 2001: A Space Odyssey? They're both S+ tier in their own genre. So it is so hard to look at Kubrick and be like, oh, Dr. Strangelove isn't as good as, The Shining. But how? They're both the best film in their genre. They both achieved at the highest level. They're both S+ tier. I don't think 2001 is that good. Listen, I make a lot of room for taste in this movie class. I'm never that stringent on if you enjoy something or not. I'm not. And ultimately, I think taste is, it's everybody's own. It's everybody's own taste, right? Every film. If you don't like 2001: A Space Odyssey, you should really watch it again. And you should keep watching it until you like it. 2001 is arguably the best film ever made, and I don't think there's much of an argument. It is a triumph. It is an absolute triumph. Why? It's the most brilliant movie ever made. I don't know what else I can say.
I've been trying to hit up movies that are earlier works for directors. Thief for Michael Mann, Clute for Alan Pakula. It's been fascinating watching directorial voices try to emerge throughout a movie. Happy 24 months.
Thank you, Logan Chance. In 1968, Stanley Kubrick predicted man's conflict with technology, with AI, with nature, with God, and gave such a comprehensive look at man's place in the universe and what God is, right? The baby in space is not an actual baby in space. It's a metaphor. It is that at the logical limit of understanding, there might be intelligence, and that intelligence might be more familiar than we know. You know what I mean? It's so good. It's so fucking good. Not to mention, basically every sci-fi movie you've ever watched has stolen part of its aesthetic from that film.
Its points are to this day.
It's one of the greatest soundtracks ever. It's a total masterpiece. First time watching this movie. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Can we watch 2001: A Space Odyssey? Yes. But anyway, again, taste is taste, but 2001 is just, it's beyond. What's your favorite guilty pleasure movie, Tommy Boy? Isn't it weird that Armageddon is in the Criterion closet or collection? No, because at the time Armageddon was such a technological masterpiece. When it came out, Armageddon was a lot like Avatar. And I think Avatar will be viewed the same way in 20 or 30 years. You know what I mean? In 20 or 30 years, people will look back and be like, they really thought this was Criterion? Armageddon's the same way. When Armageddon came out, the visual effects blew people's fucking mind. I don't want to you, babe, and I don't want to miss the thing. What's Criterion? Criterion is a collection of movies that are considered to be like the most impactful, important movies ever made. How would you rank Kurosawa with Stanley Kubrick? Real talk type shit. I mean, Kurosawa is the GOAT, man. Kurosawa is the GOAT. Does the filmmaker inspire the attitude of society, or is it the other way around? Was Dr. Strangelove made to reflect how society felt about the arms race? No. I don't think the average person felt the way about the arms race that Kubrick did. I think the film was meant to illuminate the average person.
That's cool.
Not to derail, but where did you get your shirt from? It is absolute gasoline.
I don't even remember. I think this is from Digital Monster. The Mine Shaft Gap, yeah. Have you ever seen a Serbian film? Yes, it's deeply fucking problematic and unnerving. I have a question regarding why the movie is titled Dr. Strangelove when he is barely in the film. That is a good question. Well, I know that the book that the movie was adapted from, Strangelove was not in the book. Strangelove was a character that Kubrick developed originally and placed in the story because he thought it was funny. And I know the original drafts of the movie don't have him. He only was manifested after the decision was made to make it a comedy. So maybe Kubrick just kind of fell in love with the character. I can't tell you. I don't know that offhand. I think the original book was called Red Alert, by the way. Do you know how they filmed the scene with Kong on the missile? I would assume it was just a model that they tilted back and had in front of a projection screen. No, that's how they did it. As I said, this film is not the most visually impressive of Kubrick's works. In fact, it's like the most contained. There is a lot of movie magic where I would have to go out and be like, damn, how did he do that? That one is just a model in front of a projection screen. Get Stanley Kubrick on the Fear Eye podcast. Oh, he'd be a great guest. Were any of the actors mad that it turned out to be a comedy or socially critical? I think it was just the one actor, Slim Pickens, that didn't know it was a comedy. I think everybody else knew it was a comedy. I honestly think Slim Pickens was the only one who didn't know it was a comedy. Do you think the Batman was good? It was okay. I give it like a B-. Who is your most memorable character in Strangelove? Oh, it's Strangelove. It's, dude, that scene at the end where he's like, Mein Führer? I'm sorry, President. We would have to select women based on their breeding qualities. So fucking good. It's fucking hilarious. Dr. Strangelove in 2001 made 4 years apart with such different visuals is mind-blowing. The range is crazy. Dude, that's what I'm saying. Kubrick's range is like, it's like preternatural, bro. It's insane. Kubrick's film range is the equivalent of a major league pitcher being able to pitch with both arms. It makes no sense. It truly is baffling. He's a master in every style. What films are you most excited to see that are slated for release soon? Supergirl, I mean, all my big hits just came out, bro. Weapons, Together, Superman, can you give us a quick rundown of Kubrick's background? Like, where did he learn to film? Sure. Let's pull up the old wiki. Stanley Kubrick was an American filmmaker and photographer, a major figure of post-war film industry. Kubrick is widely regarded as one of the greatest and most influential filmmakers in the history of cinema. His films were nearly all adaptations of novels or short stories, spanning a number of genres and gaining recognition for their intense attention to detail, innovative cinematography, extensive set design, and dark humor. Born in New York, Kubrick taught himself film production and directing after graduating from high school. After working as a photographer for Look magazine in the late 1940s and early 50s, he began making low-budget short films and made his first Hollywood film, The Killing, for Untitled Artists in 1956. This was followed by collaborations with Kirk Douglas, the anti-war film Paths of Glory, and his historical epic Spartacus. In 1961, Kubrick left the United States and settled in England. In 1978, he made his home at Chadbrick Manor with his wife Christine, and it became his workplace where he centralized the writing, research, editing, and management of his productions. This permitted him almost complete artistic control over his films. With rare advantage of financial support from major Hollywood studios, his first production in England were two films: Peter Sellers' the comedy drama Lolita and the Cold War black comedy Dr. Strangelove. I hope that helps. Thoughts on the similarities between George C. Scott and Tim Robinson? Interesting. What makes Citizen Kane the best movie ever? I don't get its high reputation. Citizen Kane is kind of like the film snob's best movie ever. How can I explain it? You know how like there are people that drink coffee that was a shit by an elephant and they're like, oh, this coffee's $2,000 because it was shit by an elephant. I think there is a contingent of film people that revere that movie as the best movie ever made because they're pretentious snobs. Now, I'm not saying it's not a fantastic movie. I think Citizen Kane is a fantastic movie. But a lot of the elements of that film that make it the best film ever is shit you don't really care about. Citizen Kane had a lens that was engineered for the film, and it allowed Orson Welles to get some of the depth of frame that he gets in those shots. There's one shot in particular that won't stand out to you at all. This scene right here, the shot in front of the fireplace. This depth of frame, being able to keep these two targets in frame together while they are that far apart was new. That was not something you had seen in cinema ever. That was executed by Orson Welles literally making a lens for that shot in particular. So if you look at film, you'll never see a shot that deep before that moment. So things like that, there are a lot of other details like that make Citizen Kane kind of like a Beatles of cinema, where there are a lot of filmmaking techniques, a lot of filmmaking craft that at the time was revolutionary, but now is kind of like ubiquitous.
Thanks for the movies, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for the money. But isn't that useless if it doesn't evoke some unique emotion? I think it does invoke a lot of emotion. Listen, do I think Citizen Kane is a bad film? No. Do I think Citizen Kane is top 100 of all time? Yes. Do I think it's the best movie ever made? No. But again, I just explained to you why there are some people that herald it like the Beatles of filmmaking. Did not No, my childhood had banger songs like this.
What about now? It's time to rock with the biggity back bumper. What about now? It's time to rock with the biggity back bumper. Bump to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bump to the bump to the bumper. Bump to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bump to the bump to the bumper. Bump to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bump to the bump to the bumper. Bump to the bump to the bump to the bass. Bump to the bump to the bumper. Bump to the boot to the boot to the boot boot. Bump to the bass.
Someone asked, what is the best movie? I think that's something that everybody needs to answer for themselves, right? I think the question of best movie or favorite movie is a constant dilemma. But I already answered that tonight. I think if you had to measure its impact, how many projects it influenced, how well done it is, the soundtrack, the shots, how innovative it is, it's 2001. If you had to consider for these things. But again, arguing best film ever is like arguing greatest quarterback ever, right? Like you can look at the numbers and then, you can look at the eye test and people are still going to have a difference of opinion. But I think if you had to consider everything, it's 2001. But it's a silly argument. Do you have another Peter Sellers favorite performance? Pink Panther. Come on. The parallel bars. Insane. Would you say Citizen Kane is Orson Welles' best film? I don't think so. But again, that's an opinion. Do you think do you think people got Dr. Strangelove back then? I think probably most ahead of its movie of all time. Well, that is the thing about really great movies. I think ultimately really, really, really great movies, people just enjoy. And then sometimes the deeper message is kind of disseminated later. Get Out is a great example of that. Right? At its core, Get Out is just a really good horror movie. But it kind of incepted a message in a lot of people that for a lot of people's first viewership or viewing of it isn't immediately clear. They're just watching a good... Get Out has aged incredibly. Oh, I thought you were going to say horribly. Yeah, Get Out has aged incredibly. But I think the same is true of Dr. Strangelove. Like Kubrick himself was shocked how many people did not get the innuendos in Dr. Strangelove. He was baffled. He was like, how do people not get this? But I think that is, sometimes really great works are not meant to be understood by the masses. They're meant to be understood by the most plugged in people. Do you prefer the OG Suspiria or the remake? The OG. Argento is my fucking... Oh, give me the color. I like the new one too, though. What do you think of Touch of Evil? Absolutely slaps. Would you ever watch a Marx Brothers films? Yes. The president's name is Merkin Muffy. Isn't a Merkin a pubes wig? I don't know that. What is the worst film you love? Highlander or Buckaroo Banzai. Anyway, we're getting the question mark questions. All right, guys, that's it for film night. We did it. I hope you enjoyed. This is a tradition we've kept going for a long time. I did my 20-minute lesson and then I answered questions for 30 minutes. I hope you enjoyed tonight. It is my pleasure, as always, to do this for you. Thank you for coming out each and every week. It means the world to me that so many people trust me with their evenings and decide to sit down and watch these very, very challenging movies with me. I know they're not all Kangaroo Jack. Some of them are a little tougher to digest. And I really appreciate you sitting down and watching them with me. It means the world to me. You've changed my life in such a significant way. You've given me so much. I hope that I give a fraction of that back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow I won't be streaming. I have the podcast. And I also have an HP Omen stream called something. But I'm doing it with Extra Emily and Jason the Ween and Cutie Cinderella and Fusely. It won't be on my channel, but you can go check it out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I got to get up early. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending you over to Jay Dilla. Please give him the same love and respect that you would give me. Stay dangerous, everybody. I've been saying it since the very first stream. I really appreciate all that you guys do. You've absolutely changed my life. I'll be back Friday. Friday, I'm doing, I think, a bodybuilding stream with Cyan and Spooky. I think I'm going to cosplay as Ken from Street Fighter. And then I'll do my normal stream after, maybe. I don't know. But we got a lot of great content coming up. I love you so much. I love you. I love you all so much, you fuckers. Thank you for all that you do. You mean the world to me. Have a wonderful evening and good night.